Theoretically, you can get all the vitamins and amino acids and fatty acids you need from your grains and fruits and vegetables, although you have to eat 6 cups of 15 different plant foods every day to get enough vitamins, amino acids, and fatty acids. In other words, 6 times 15, 6 cups times 15 different plants, that's 90 cups of fruits and vegetables a day. I mean, even if you had the belly capacity to do that, you'd be in the bathroom running through rolls of Charmin tissue all day from that much fruit, right? Now, so it is theoretically possible to get your vitamins, amino acids, and fatty acids from grains, fruits, and vegetables, but not really practical. And of course, most people in America, they eat potato buds out of a Betty Crocker box, and I'm coming here from Idaho, you know about potato buds, and they think they're getting a vegetable. They say, oh, I eat vegetables, I had the potato buds today. Then of course there was Wonder Bread. Remember back 50 years ago when I was growing up on the farm, we didn't have TV, and we didn't even have dryers that went round and round to entertain ourselves. So we always listened to the radio, things like the Green Hornet and Captain Midnight and Inner Sanctum, and we'd make jelly sandwiches listening to these things with Wonder Bread. And I studied that Wonder Bread wrapper. I mean, I could tell you how many blue balloons there was, red, yellow, and so forth. And on the wrapper it said, helps build your body 12 ways. And about 10 years later, the FDA made them change it to help build your body 8 ways. Now if you go into a grocery store and study the Wonder Bread wrapper, it just says Wonder Bread. They made them take it all off of there, and you wonder what's in it. So even though it's theoretically possible to get all the vitamins and amino acids and fatty acids you need from your food, I still recommend to my patients that you supplement with these things. You don't take a bag full of dirt from the Texas oil field and throw it in the crankcase of your car or tractor and say, well, there's supposed to be oil in there. But we do that for ourselves when it comes to food and vitamins and minerals. I just find that amazing. Now, minerals are a different story. Plants cannot manufacture minerals, and we need 60 essential minerals every day to prevent disease and death. Plants only have minerals in them based on whatever minerals are in the soil. And that's why we're in trouble in America, because for the last 100 years, and I know I did on our farm, and I'm assuming most people do on their farm, we used a very simple fertilizer called NPK, because back then for 25 bucks an acre, it would give us the maximum yield in terms of tons and bushels per acre, and nobody paid us a cash incentive or gave us a tax incentive to make sure we had 60 minerals in the soil and therefore in our food plants. We were taught to grow tons and bushels, and we did a darn good job at it, and that's why we got paid. It only takes 5 to 10 years to deplete the essential minerals out of our soils, and if you irrigate, it goes faster than that. And for 100 years, we've been using NPK. Now, one of the things I want you to pick up, if you haven't already done that, is a free summary, when you leave tonight, is a free summary of U.S. Senate Document 264. U.S. Senate Document 264 says there's no more nutritional minerals left in our farm and range soils, and as a result, the crops that are grown there are minerally deficient. And as a result of that, the animals and people who eat these minerally deficient crops get mineral deficiency diseases, and the only way to prevent and cure them is with mineral supplements. Now, the scary thing to me about U.S. Senate Document 264 is it was written and published by the U.S. Senate in 1936. 59 years ago, this information was known. Did anybody ever give it to you before? No. And that's the time at which in agriculture we started putting vitamins and minerals and trace minerals into animal feeds, 1936. And humans, unfortunately for us, we got wonder drugs. This is when we got penicillin, sulfa drugs, and prednisone. Doctors said, we don't need to know about that nutrition stuff. People get sick. We give them some wonder drugs and cure them. U.S. Senate Document 264. Now this one here you should pay attention to. This is kind of an overlay map of the continental United States, and this shows you how much selenium is in the soil in various areas or regions of the country. The black areas have absolutely no selenium in it. The dark gray areas probably don't. It's kind of a maybe, maybe not. So if you eat food out of your own garden, or you go to a farmer's market and get very fresh fruits and vegetables or grains and whatnot, still dew on it from the field. In Idaho, are you getting any selenium? No. Farmers know they better give selenium to their sheep and their horses and their pigs and cows. Otherwise, you get white muscle disease or stiff lamb disease or mulberry heart disease. Why do we do that for our livestock and we don't take care of ourselves? Okay, just a quick detailed look at 2 minerals, and we'll wind it up and open it up for questions. Let's look at calcium. Everybody knows about calcium since Tum started talking about osteoporosis. Osteoporosis, of course, is a tragic disease. It's the number 10 killer of adults in the United States. It's very costly in terms of human misery in dollars. It costs $35,000 to have each hip replaced. If you get them both replaced, they're in fact $70,000. Now, Farmers know that we can prevent osteoporosis in animals, and we don't have osteoporosis in animals even though we have such a terrible time with it in humans. And here's why. Farmers are very practical. Let's say you have 100 head of cows out in the pasture and you didn't have any calves this year, can't repay your operating loan. You call the vet out and you say, man, do I get rid of this herd of cows? It cost me a lot of money this year, feed and labor and maintaining the fence and pasture, and I didn't get any calves. What's happening here? So the vet examines the cows. He says, no, there's nothing wrong with the cows here, but your bull over there has osteoporosis of both his hips, had so much pain, couldn't breed the cows, that's why he didn't have any calves. He said, I'll tell you what, you give me $70,000, I'll give that bull 2 new hips, and next year you'll have some calves. So a farmer, being a practical guy, says, stand over here, Doc. Boom! Blows the bull away, 28 cents, and kids are grinding them up into hamburger and cutting steaks and roast off that old bull. The farmer says, now, Doc, for $70,000, I can get a new bull every year for 70 years. You know I wasn't going to spend that kind of money. But every once in a while, I get one I'd like to keep because he throws good calves. Any way I can prevent that osteoporosis thing. And the vet says, well, sure. Every time you wean one of those bull calves, just give him 10 cents a day worth of calcium in his pellets. And the farmer says, you mean I can prevent a $70,000 vet bill simply by giving 10 cents a day worth of calcium in the pellets? He says, well, yeah. He says, well, I'm going to do that because I don't have insurance for those animals and because I have to pay for it out of my own pocket. I'm going to do the 10 cent a day thing. That's why we don't have osteoporosis in animals. Now, receding gums is another one. Dentists will tell you to floss and brush after every meal if you want to avoid or cure receding gums. If you believe that really works, I have some oceanfront property in Idaho to sell you. Because it doesn't work. I've seen hundreds of thousands of animals, rats, rabbits, mice, dogs, cats, sheep, horses, pigs, cows, lions, and tigers, and bears, and they don't floss, and they don't get receding gums. Now, they do get funky breath. Now, the reason why we don't get receding gums in animals is because we've taken care of the osteoporosis problem. Gingivitis, receding gums, loose teeth, periodontitis, pyorrhea, bridges, plates, all of these different diseases really are just osteoporosis of the facial bones and the jaw bones. And that's why we don't have these problems in animals, because we've taken care of the osteoporosis problem. If you have any of those dental problems, you in fact have osteoporosis of the face or jaw bones. Arthritis. Now get your pencils out because I'm going to give you that complete arthritis formula at this point. For those of you who stayed tonight and been a great audience, Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula goes like this. 5 ounces of calcium-enriched Minute Maid orange juice. 5 ounces of calcium-enriched Minute Maid orange juice. 2 quarter-ounce packets of Knox gelatin, unflavored and unsweetened. 1 ounce of mineral toddy for the colloidal minerals, including colloidal calcium and magnesium and boron. And 1 ounce of total toddy or ultra body toddy. This will give you the basic Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula. Take that twice a day, faithfully for 2 months, and then call me in the morning. I'll say it one more time. 5 ounces of calcium-enriched Minute Maid orange juice, 2 quarter-ounce envelopes of Knox gelatin, unflavored and unsweetened, 1 ounce of mineral toddy, and 1 ounce of either total toddy or ultra body toddy, which are vitamins, amino acids, and minerals. That mixture, 7.5 ounces, you want to take twice a day faithfully for 2 months before you decide whether it's actually helping your arthritis or not. Hypertension. High blood pressure is not due to too much salt in your diet. It won't help you if you take salt out of your diet. What's the first thing that a good husbandryman puts out for his livestock? It's about that big. The salt block. And a dumb old cow can have all she wants. Now, doctors think people are dumber than cows. A cow can have all the salt she wants, but you can't have any, right? Well, we learned 5 years ago from a study that was paid for with your tax money, $30 million. They studied high blood pressure. They took 10,000 people, 5,000 of which had high blood pressure. They took them off of all salt medications to see if just a salt-free diet would help people live longer. And of course, they all died very quickly. Can't live without salt. Then they took 5,000 people in a control group. They let them salt their food, in fact, encouraged them to salt their food to taste. And then they made them take 3 times the RDA of calcium. They don't even know why they did that. They just wanted to do something different in the control group, have nothing to do with salt. And that control group was supposed to run 20 years to compare with the other group that had already died out. Well, they had to stop the control group in 6 weeks because 85% of them were cured of their high blood pressure just simply by tripling your calcium intake. How many of you got that notice from your doctor saying it's okay to salt your food to taste, but please do double or triple your intake of calcium, especially if you have high blood pressure? Not a single person in this room. Okay. Insomnia. As we roll around all night, wake up in the morning more tired when you went to bed, that's not a barbiturate deficiency, it's a calcium deficiency. Okay, your doctor likes to give you barbiturates, kill about 10,000 people a year, but that's okay as prescription, so they keep track of the numbers for you. They have a new one out called Halcyon. It doesn't kill you, but it has terrible side effects of stomach cramping, nausea, vomiting, and that's what they gave George Bush when he went to Japan to sleep on Air Force One. You know, he was going to negotiate with the trade ambassadors there from Japan. And when I came home, I always turn on CNN News, and I turned that on, and here's these Japanese newscasters. I thought the whole Japanese economy had collapsed. I mean, these guys were taking their ties off and throwing their jackets on the desk, and their hair was all over the place, sweat flying around. And they're saying things like, "Ohayou gozaimasu, konnichiwa, Bush, bleh." And then I saw that news thing with him puking all over them guys. I mean, he could blame his doctor's prescription for losing the presidency because that wasn't very presidential. Then there's kidney stones, bone spurs, heel spurs, and calcium deposits. Doctors have the malignant, dumb belief that you have too much calcium in your diet when you get those things, and they say absolutely no dairy, and for God's sake, don't take any supplements with calcium in it, when in reality, you only get calcium kidney stones, bone spurs, heel spurs, and calcium deposits when you have a raging osteoporosis. In reality, you need more calcium and more magnesium, not less. A couple more here, cramps and twitches. How many of you have ever had a foot cramp? Raise your hand, be honest. Just about everybody in the room has been awakened with a foot cramp, right? That's a calcium deficiency. Your body's screaming at you, give me some calcium, darn it. Then, of course, there's twitches, eyelid twitches, muscle twitches. Be honest, how many of you ever had an eyelid twitch? Raise your hand. Yeah, just about everybody in the room. Now, when I was 14 years old, my eyelids used to twitch so loud you could hear them. I mean, it sounded like... And I'd look in the mirror and say, do people see that, or is that my imagination? And I looked, sure enough, I caught it one day, and I called my mom. Hey, Mom, look at this. And she didn't know what it was, so we jumped in the car, and we drove 80 miles to St. Louis. We went to this lady eye doctor. I'll never forget. Her name was Mary Jane Skeffington. And for some reason, she had me stripped down to my jockey underwear. I mean, she was an eye doctor. I mean, today I get on Oprah with sexual harassment, right? But back then, it was just kind of a curiosity. And what's her interest here, you know? I mean, I was 14 years old. So at any rate, she'd look in my eyes and kind of shrug her shoulders. She'd go look at another patient. She'd come back and look in my eyes. And after about an hour of that, I said, Doc, look, I play on the junior varsity football team. I'm the captain of the wrestling team. I'm on the weightlifting team. If you have to amputate my eyelids, go for it. I mean, I can do whatever is necessary. I can't stand this twitching and cramping in my eyes. And so she knew I was frustrated. She goes to her office. She comes back with a little Maybelline mascara eyelash brush and a little mirror. I said, what's all that for? She says, well, your eyes appear to be normal, but you do have long eyelashes, and I think they've hit your glasses curled back and they're tickling your eyeballs, and that's what's happening. And I said, yeah. And she says, and she starts demonstrating to me. She says, what I want you to do is every hour alternate eyes and start actually retraining your eyelashes. I said, no, wait a minute. You want me to sit on the football bench with 25 guys weighing over 200 pounds, and you want me to start playing with my eyelashes? I mean, these guys will sharpen their cleats and kill me. My own team will kill me. So I put on my pants, and I go marching off to the school library, and I look at a health book written by a couple of nurses, and I look in the index under muscle cramps, muscle twitches, and sure enough, it says calcium deficiency. Now, I'm 14 years old. The only place I knew we had calcium was in those calf pellets in the barn. So I ran to the barn, and I had to make this decision. Was I going to do this Maybelline mascara eyelash treatment, or was I going to eat calf pellets? So I started eating calf pellets. Everybody else in school was popping M&Ms, you know, and I'm eating calf pellets. So in 3 days' time, all those cramps and twitches went away. And of course, I knew then that doctors didn't know anything about anatomy, and probably, I didn't know what the connection was between the eyes and the other parts, and then they didn't know anything about nutrition. Now, PMS, premenstrual syndrome, the University of California 6 years ago came out and said that 85% of the physical and emotional stuff of PMS could in fact be reversed, prevented, and cured simply by tripling your intake of calcium over and above the RDA of calcium. So guys, if you have a gal in your family, a mother, a sister, a wife, a daughter, or maybe a boss or co-worker, don't give them flowers and chocolate to try and calm them down. Give them some calcium and everybody will be happier. Now, low back pain, 85% of all back pain is due to either osteoporosis of the vertebrae, regardless of your age. Even if you're 10 years old, if you have low back pain, you can have osteoporosis of the vertebrae or cramps and spasms in the muscles. And so you want to use Dr. Wallach's pig arthritis formula for all of these things. Now, the criminal thing about this is these are just the top 10 out of 147 different diseases that can be caused by a calcium deficiency, just 10. Because we have good insurance and because we have Medicare and Medicaid, the average person in America will spend somewhere between $25,000 and $250,000 during their lifetime and undergo 5 to 10 surgical procedures for nothing more than a calcium deficiency. Any other industry where you can do something for 10 cents and they charge you $250,000, they get put in jail for fraud. But in medicine, we just ask the doctor or the government to tax us so we can pay them. I find that fascinating. Last one, diabetes. Number 3 killers of Americans. Causes blindness of all kinds, kidney failure requiring dialysis or maybe kidney transplant, cardiovascular disease of all kinds, amputations of toes, feet, and legs. And if you're really determined to get an amputation, make sure you tag the right leg, to make sure the doctor gets the right one. And this is really criminal because every time your doctor diagnoses a new diabetic in his office, he drops to his knees and gives thanks to the Lord. And then when he gets up, he runs over and picks up the telephone, calls his real estate agent and says, hey, I need a new apartment complex or a strip mall or a farm. I need to dump $250,000 to $500,000 because I got a new diabetic patient. It's kind of like adding a new dairy cow to the herd. You know how much money you're going to get during the useful life of that cow. Now, in 1957, we learned in animals that we could prevent and cure diabetes with 2 trace minerals. Adult onset diabetes, chromium and vanadium would prevent and cure it. 10 years ago, 1985, the medical school at the University of Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, came out and said the trace mineral vanadium alone could replace insulin for adult onset diabetics.